But the Protestants came in, Anglo-Saxon Protestants came into Louisiana and started blue laws. And they started putting up posters and laws and making these codes where you can't dance on a Sunday. You can't gamble on Sunday.
Yeah.
You can't go to the ball. You can't go out to Congo Square and play your drums and guitars. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. And it's like, that's just totally antithetical to Louisiana culture.
Right.
I mean, the enslaved people and the free black people have been playing their guitars and drums in Congo Square since, 200 years before the Anglo-Saxons came in, before Louisiana became Americanized. So freedom of expression is kind of what the blues, developed to push back against, to say that the church is not going to control, we're going to have freedom of expression. And Protestantism isn't going to control us. And we're not going to be embarrassed because we're not Victorian enough for you. And so young ladies will go out to these clubs, the Funky Butt Hall and some of these other places on Perito Street down in New Orleans to these joints. And they would take out what women had to wear, these garter things that they had to tie up. Yeah. And they had these, corsets, they had corset closets and stuff they get rid of that. They might leave home in that stuff, but then they get rid of it, at the parties. And the musicians have been playing things like Scottish and formal dances for, that's what slaves played. They played Scottish and, if you did the waltz and then you played the waltz, the music wasn't dictating. People didn't just stand around and watch you play the music.
Right.
You were just there to accompany the dancing.
Right.
And then they'll have a little cake and have some tea and drink a little this, a little punch, and then they'll dance some more, and everybody dance with a partner. And they had formal dances, Scottish and this type of thing. And so the blues broke with all of that. And so the blues, you got people playing, and this slow blues thing that people do. I have a new song called Slow Dragon Blues. Well, Buddy Bolden would slow it down, and everybody would, after midnight, and everybody would kind of, after they do all the quadrilles and all of that, then the late night thing after midnight, they would play a lot of slow blues, these long slow blues numbers, and people would be grinding. It was pretty, lascivious, it was really sensual in these places. And so, parents didn't want their kids going out and dealing with this kind of music because it was
cool.
Yeah. Every generation have their music that run their parents nuts and scare society, Well, that's what the blues was in the 1890s coming out of New Orleans. And yes, back to your question. Yeah. Buddy Bolden was the earliest known, performer that we know of that was really, influential. He was the biggest. I can't say he was the first. Who knows who was the first? Right. Because Mamie Desdunes, a piano player, was the first person that Jelly Roll Martin said he heard playing the blues. He lived near her home. He lived with his godmother up in the Garden District, and he would hear Mamie Desdunes playing the piano, playing a famous song called 219 Blues that Janis Joplin and so many other singers have recovered by different names. Sometimes they do call it 219 Blues. Yeah. But he would hear her. He said that was the first introduction that he had to the blues as a boy in the 1890s. But but Buddy Bolden, as early as 1895, we have public record and newspaper accounts and eyewitness accounts that he was playing the blues in 1895 in New Orleans. And I'll just add that in 1895, this area in the Mississippi Delta, in the mythologized Mississippi Delta, there was no musical culture there in 1895. There were almost no black people living there. Right. And as a matter of fact, there were never any black slaves in the mythologized state of Mississippi Delta. Huh. There was never any black slavery or black history there. It just never happened. Those are fairy tales and mythology. So New Orleans is the first place that blues was played anywhere in the world.